episode of the On That Journey podcast. I am your host, Antoine Wade, and tonight we have a special guest, my brother, Mr. ERTWYN Henry. ERTWYN and I, what's that?
I said, what's going on, Ant?
Oh man, it is good, my brother. You know, tell the people how you doing, Ert.
I'm doing good, man. I can't complain, man. I've known you since college from FAU,
yep.
And when we got wind of what you were doing, it spoke to me, and I said, man, I need to let Ant know I want to be on. So, you know, I contacted you. I said, hey, man, I want to step outside my comfort zone and really try to. I'm not comfortable like being online and talking in front of people, but I said I'm gonna make the effort and do something different. So the initiative that you're doing, I think it's amazing. I wouldn't mind taking time out of my day to either give some of my knowledge or just even share my story with whoever's out there, put out an atmosphere and see where this thing goes, man. Even though it's in its infancy, I can say I've been there from the beginning.
Appreciate it, my brother. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So as ERTWYN mentioned, ERTWYN and I went to school together our freshman year at Florida Atlantic University. And we met in the dorm room, and ever since then we've been really tight. We don't talk every day, but we know what's going on in each other's lives. And ERTWYN graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a Bachelor of Science in Management Information Systems. He has over 9 years in information systems and applications development and maintenance and enhancement using Microsoft technologies. He's a full stack web developer with experience in back end and front end design and development for business solutions. So guys, it looks like we have some people in the house watching us. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that we keep this live and interactive like we always do. Guys, I think for all the people who haven't been on the podcast yet, ask questions. Tune in. We're going to be talking about leadership, how ERTWYN's story, his work as a full stack web developer, what got him there. So please feel free at any point in time to drop a question and we'll try to respond to it as best as we can. Looks like we got some people in the chat already. We got Mr. Anton Walker. We got Evolution Sports Academy. That must be Mr. Kenny. We got Tiffany Wade in the house, and we got Mr. Billy Rowe in the house as well. How you guys? Thank you for tuning in. And for all the people, if this is your first time here, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. That's going to help us grow our content. That's going to help us grow the brand. So if you all see me, I'm in my Black Heights logo. You know, I typically dress more professional in these podcasts, but I decided that I was going to represent the brand today. So let's jump into it.
That's a good look, man. That's a good look.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it, brother. So
let me do one thing real quick. Let me get my wife my YouTube link so she can take a look at it.
Yes, absolutely. Do that. Send that to her. Well, I'm going to get us queued up for the lightning round, my man. You know.
All right.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready, man. Whatever you got.
You ready? All right. Let me get my timer going. Let me just get my timer in place here. All right. Let's see what we're going to do here. All right. Timer. Okay. All right. We got the timer going. And let me do one other thing. And you know what? It's going to be a little bit longer than we usually go. Let me change the screen up on y'all. Check that out. All right. All right, here's the game, this or that. So right. ERTWYN, the first one is stay on course or take the off-beaten path.
I'm gonna say take the off-beaten path.
And I'm going to tell you guys a story about this one as well too. Okay, online shopping or shopping in a store.
I just started online shopping, so I'm gonna say I'm a shop in the store type of guy, man.
All right. Receive email or letter?
Receive email.
Okay. Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Tablet or computer?
Tablet.
Most important in a partner, and I know you're married, intelligent or funny?
Man, funny, man. Funny. Yeah. Not laughing, can't put a price on that. Funny.
Got it. Cautious or adventurous?
Adventurous.
Washcloth or loofah?
Washcloth, man. Washcloth. That's cultural, man. Washcloth.
Phone call or text?
Text.
Toast or eggs?
Eggs.
Cardio or weights?
Weights.
Facebook or Twitter?
Ooh. Facebook.
Ice cream cone or snow cone?
Ice cream cone.
Okay. iOS or Android?
Android.
While walking, music or podcasts?
Music for me.
Cake or pie?
Pie. Key lime pie all day, every day.
All right. Swimming or sunbathing?
Swimming.
Okay, we're going to go a little bit longer. It looks like the timer is running out, but we're going to go a little bit longer because I got a late start. High tech or low tech?
High tech.
Big party or small gathering?
Small gathering for me. Small gathering.
New clothes or new phone?
New phone.
Football or basketball?
Football.
Nice car or nice home interior?
Nice home interior.
All right, what's worse, laundry or dishes?
Ooh. Laundry, man. Laundry never is, man. I'm saying laundry. Laundry. Folded? Oh, yeah, laundry.
All right.
Definitely.
Last one here. Let's do this. Skiing or surfing?
Skiing.
Okay. Very good. I think you gave me the audience a little bit more about yourself. Let me switch over to back in the chat. It looks like we got Mr. Clark Wade in the house as well. Leah is in the house. Thank you for joining us, Leah. All right.
Leah.
She's going to be on the show in the month of March, and it's going to be a good one as well. So I want to tell a quick story about ERTWYN, and the reason why I asked that first question of whether he would stay on course or go off the off-beaten path. So back in 2012, ERTWYN, my wife, his wife, decided to go on a ski trip to Breckenridge, Colorado, and we all went snowmobiling. And ERTWYN, we had a leader, and we were in probably like a group of about 12. And ERTWYN and I decided we wanted to tail so that we can basically slingshot each other, meaning that you had the leader up front, you had one of us in the back watching everybody. And what we would do is we would slow down, and as soon as people got like a mile ahead of us, we would just gun it, try to catch up with them, right? So we did this, and you had a path, and the leader says just follow the path. So we're doing this on the way back to camp, and ERTWYN decides not to take the path. so I'm riding, and then I see ERT take another path. He veered off, and the next thing you know, I seen ERT like fly up the snowmobile, and he was heading towards a tree. So I was like, oh no! And next thing you know, he just was gone. So I thought he hit the tree, thought he was dead. And next thing you know, you see his head pop up, and all you saw was like snow. He was like, oh man, I'm stuck. So that's the reason why I asked him if he likes to stay on course or go off the beaten path. And anyway, about 10 minutes later, because we couldn't get the snowmobile out, the leader had to come over and help us get the snowmobile out, get it started up, and basically it ruined the rest of the trip for everybody else because of ERTWYN. So I wanted to make sure I asked that question because this is one of the things that I remember candidly and vividly, and I was just like, oh my God, I thought we lost you, brother. I thought you hit the tree, and it could be one of those accidents.
I thought I was going to hit that tree, like literally, like the snowmobile hit the ramp, and like how you watch the X Games and the dudes are holding on to the handlebars and their legs are flying. And the tree was just, I couldn't do anything, man. But yeah, that was awesome time, man.
It was a great time. All right, so we're already 10 minutes in to the podcast. Let's get to the questions. So ERT, you're a full stack developer. Tell everyone your journey. How you got to this position. Yeah, tell everyone your journey, brother. Who is Mr. ERTWYN Henry?
So pretty much I was the only child for about 16 years. I'm gonna just give you, it was, my mom got married, and pretty much when she got married, she decided to have another kid. So I was the only child for 16 years. And so I have my stepbrother and another stepsister that all come from my stepdad. So my mom was a single mother for most of our lives. And pretty much she led me down the path of doing academic magnet schools. And pretty much that's how I got to my high school, which I played football. Pretty much I went to an academic prep. And pretty much I played football in Little League, and my team was always one of the top teams in the city. I get to this school, it's academic prep. Everybody's playing football. They don't care about winning. They just care about hanging out, being out there. And you can clearly tell that I played football a lot differently than those individuals that were out there playing. So essentially, I played football during high school. They had me playing middle linebacker because I was one of the hardest hitters out there. Now, was I middle linebacker size? No. But I got to the ball, lineman couldn't block me. I made contact, we're gonna tackle, we're gonna hit, strap up all day. So pretty much I got wind of FAU's football program by a coach coming to visit. And so he interested me in the program, and I went down for a visit, and I was like, I like this university, I like this school, and I wanted to, walk on and play football, got an invitation to walk on. So I walked on to the FAU football team. That was in, let's say, 2001. So then I was there. I was a major in mechanical engineering. And I've always said I wanted to be an engineer. Like, it was either an astronaut or an engineer. Little did I know that there were things like Physics 2, Calc 2, integrals, statics courses, all that other stuff that pretty much you had to do to get in. So I'm taking my engineering classes. I reached a little rough point in one of my relationships that I was in that ended, had a little bit of heartbreak with the intimidation and the work back, with the intimidation of the people that were in my class, me feeling somewhat inadequate to some of the individuals in my class who were older than me, and also getting experience in engineering because they did workshops, or they had jobs on the side that dealt with engineering. I got myself in my Calc 2 class, and I had a Russian teacher who was like, "Oh, you can't get the problem? Like, it's so easy," and just made me kind of feel I really struggled at that point. So I kind of stopped going to class. Statics, I didn't really do too well in my statics class, but I passed Physics 2. And because I passed Physics 2, now that I realized that I passed Physics 2, I should have been able to pass Calc 2 because it's the same concepts. So anyways, I became ineligible, but in order to play football, I wasn't ineligible for my grade point average. I was ineligible for the College of Engineering because I failed Calc 2 and statics. So I switched my major, right? I remember doing Q Basic in high school, and I killed my intro to programming class. C++ was a breeze to me. Everybody's like, "Man, you get this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I get this. Like, it's not hard, pointers, variables, I get it." So I switched my major to Management Information Systems, or the College of Business, which is Management Information Systems. And because I had the high level maths and I had the other classes, other credits, I was like, okay, I want to get my BS in Management Information Systems. And at FAU, they had several tracks. They had a Java track or a C# track. And I ended up choosing the C# track. And that led me into me being a .NET developer. Now, little did I know in graduating college that what a junior programmer was, what it took to get into the programming field. Once I graduated, I was looking for jobs and working at the mall and making $13 an hour in my $13 an hour to pay for my apartment, my rent, and everything else like that wasn't going to cut it, right? So I had to move back home, and when I got back to Jacksonville, I was looking for programming jobs. Now, everybody wanted you to hit the ground running and they were looking for a entry-level programmer. As a junior programmer, I didn't have the knowledge, or I didn't have the necessary. I did a couple internships, but I was doing QA and testing, nothing too serious. You know, like if they're coming and asking me about the back end, I had no idea about those things and what it would take to, you know, make myself attractive in these interviews. So I ended up getting hired with Robert and Half, and I did some contracting. And I went to a DB developer program at my junior college, or a community college. And that actually shut down. And I was like, man, if this is going to shut down, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because if I can't do programming, I'm going to do database development. And if I can't get my database development certification, then I need to do something else. So that led me down a path to a Microsoft training program in Parsippany, New Jersey, called Set Focus. That required 3 months out of my pretty much after I graduated with my degree, 3 months in New Jersey. And I chose that route because they gave you two options. You can use the sit in your home and do the webcam version, or you can come up to the classroom and actually take part in the program. So I financed that, went up there, did that program. I was killing it. Like everybody's like, oh man, you know how to use Management Studio, you know, all these things. And so they were really impressed. And one of the recruiters there introduced me to a recruiter for the company called Avanade. And that company is a partnership between Accenture and Microsoft. And I got wind that they were opening a local consulting establishment in Houston. And she was like, you should come out. I really think you'll do well. I'm really impressed with you, and you know, you should come out and do an interview. So I flew out to Houston. I did the interview. At that time, when I got back home, my mom was like, oh, you're just going to move all the way across the country? You know, you think you're a grown man? Like, you think you can do what you want? I'm like, well, I don't have any kids. I don't have any anything to hold me back. Why not? So I actually did the interview. I did really well. They hired me. I was one of the first 3 employees. So we had, you know, maybe 2 senior developers, and I was one of the third. I was a junior developer on hand. So essentially, I was consulting in the city of Houston. I moved out here. I packed my car up. I was on Craigslist. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment from somebody. I stayed a month there. Little did I know that he was renting his living room out to multiple people. So it was me and this other guy on a bunk bed in the living room. And pretty much I was like, okay, now this is not gonna cut it. So I had to get my stuff together, man. I got my own apartment. Didn't have a mattress, didn't have nothing. It was empty. And so that pretty much gave me everything that I have here in Houston. I've earned it on my own, you know. So I went from having an empty apartment to having no furniture to having, you know, bedroom furniture to dining room furniture to, you know, now I'm a homeowner. So I worked for Avanade for 6 years. During that time, I had 3 promotions. I went from, you know, junior programmer to, you know, your level 1 programmer to your senior programmer. So I made it 3 promotions. Pretty much in that corporate game, I was excelling, even though I think in 2008 when the recession happened. I was doing such good work consulting at the cancer hospital in MD Anderson. They had, the way they did it was they brought everybody into a room. And in one room were the people that were going to stay. In the other room were the people that were losing their, pretty much losing their job. I was in the room with the people that were getting to keep their job. And pretty much at MD Anderson, I was part of a team that built out structured clinical documentation for oncologists using pretty much their desktop application. Their EMR was a desktop application at that time. So my intro to programming was at MD Anderson, where they had a enterprise level software with about 150 projects in it that used maybe about 60 different databases. And it was dealing with service-oriented architecture. So that was my baptism pretty much in the program. But I knew everything. I knew programming concepts. I knew testing concepts. I knew database concepts. I knew how to use Visual Studio to navigate my way around it. So people were pretty much impressed at my young age, at 22 or was that or 25, that I was able to grasp concepts so quickly, and really just they give me a task and I would get it done, and they were really impressed with it. So one of the teams I worked with, we did some trailblazing stuff where we were building out rich user interfaces using some WPF technology, and I did that. And the CTO at that company changed, and they went a different route. So that led me down the path of doing desktop development. I realized their change was coming, and I wanted to do more web development. So I took that upon myself. It was like, well, I asked him to roll me off the project. I said, because I want more experience in web technologies, and I'm not going to get it here because they're going to an out-of-the-box solution. And if I'm going to excel in my career, I need to get more experience doing web development. So, they took heed and they put me on some web projects. But, when they look at you as a consultant, they look at your resume, they try to put you with things that you already have done or have been doing.
Right.
And I didn't necessarily take too well to that. I was like, well, I want more web development. You keep giving me these desktop projects. I don't want these. So I switched consulting companies. I went to Robert Half Technologies, and I was killing it there. I got some good projects. It was good. I got a bump in pay, and just I enjoy what I do. I enjoy building databases. I enjoy building UIs, building integration solutions. I really enjoyed the work that I did. It wasn't too stressful. I understood what I was doing, and from that point on, as I worked in my profession and I excelled, that gave me an opportunity to do extracurricular activities. So my wife moved out in 2007 or 2008, I think. And while she was in Jacksonville, Florida, I was out here coaching Little League football. And that pretty much is how I passed the time. I literally emailed a representative from Pop Warner. He put me in contact with one of the presidents, and I started coaching Little League football. And I would leave work on days where I wouldn't do my second job, where I was valet parking. I would go straight to football practice, coach football practice, help the kids out, and then pretty much coach the games on Saturdays. And let's see, fast forward, she moved out here. She was going back to school. I was holding it down while she was in school. We found out that we were expecting, and then decided, okay, well, we're going to have to move out of our apartment and get a house. And that's when I got my introduction to what it takes to become, to be eligible to be financed to buy a house. I learned about debt to income ratio. I learned about your 3.5%, found out that I made too much money for a lot of down payments assistance programs. So I really would have to strict my budget and really save up my money to get my 3.5% to make my down payment on my home. So I did that, bought my house in 2012. Ended up we have now 2 more kids. We have I have a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 5-month-old. So I have 2 boys and 1 girl. And let's see, so I'm a family
beautiful
man.
Family, man. That's a beautiful family, brother.
Exactly. And now I work for a small marketing company. It's about 40 employees. I was a consultant for them. They really was impressed with the work that I did as far as building, integrating solutions that they have 2 different systems. They're like, hey, we have this system that has some limitations, but we want it to talk to this FedEx system. Can you get it to talk to the FedEx system? Yeah, that's fine, man. We just need some APIs. We just need to, build some databases and stuff. And they were like, man, this is great. I hit them with the bootstrap. They liked everything. They were like, oh, well, this works on the mobile phone. Like, I was like, that's the experience of the web, right? I bootstrap some stuff. It doesn't matter if it's on your desktop. Doesn't matter if it's on your tablet or on your phone. You'll be able to use it. So they're really impressed. They bought me out of my contracting contract because the contracting was charging them about $300 an hour, right? And I was making nowhere near $300 an hour.
Yeah.
So
typically not.
Yeah. Right. So we met somewhere. He met somewhere in the middle. It was actually funny because I was actually out the door because I took interviews with another company, and I pretty much got the job offer. And he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. And so right now I work for a small marketing company, and I build a lot of, they work with Chevron, they work with a lot of tractor companies. They do a lot of rebates, loyalty programs, customer retentions, stuff like that. So I build a lot of solutions to integrate systems, to talk to one another, to pass data back and forth. If they have an admin, and their admin doesn't do, or admin screen that doesn't do what they want, I build out a web application that gives them, the ability to configure some sort of data that they want, that can plug into their ERP system, that they're able to build clients and generate PDFs, send out emails, create desktop tickets, all this stuff. So I do that on a daily basis. I go to meetings, I listen to what the client wants, I make my suggestions, and I go from there.
Wow, that's a wonderful story, man. That's I think you gave the entire audience your entire story, ERTWYN.
Hey, that's it, man. I'm getting the show right now.
That's the engineering, and that's the engineering mindset of Mr. ERTWYN here. He has to go to the exact detail. That's one thing I loved about you, and I love about you, brother. You get down to the details, man. And matter of fact, a lot of that story, ERTWYN, really dives into a lot of the questions that I want to get into for this podcast, such as, what you have done in the past as an engineer. You told that story, and not only that, where you're currently living right now in Houston and stuff and things like that. But to give the fans and the audience a little bit more about how to, if they're considering a career in technology, what are the 3 most important things that they need to do before applying? But before you get there, let's jump to the chat real fast, because we have those guys. Okay. We got Mr. Darcellis Reed in the house. What's up, Darcellis? And we got a couple questions in here. Clark Wade is in the house as well too. Mr. Billy Rose said, real math courses showed up, LOL. So that's when you were telling your story about the FAU, right? And math is definitely, it's not my strong suit. I can tell you that right now. We got some people in the chat going back and forth. A-Step had a question. A-Step J, how are you? And I don't know what this pertains to, but we're going to ask that question. Does being overweight prevent you from moving up in corporate America as an African American? That's a good question, and I don't know how to answer that because of, I'm not overweight, and I don't know if ERTWYN, if you can answer that because you're not overweight. But what has your experience been with people who aren't in shape within corporate America? What has your experience been?
So I've worked with several overweight people. You hear Donald Trump joke around about the developer being a big fat guy in Russia and stuff like that. Yep. Like, we actually have, that's a stereotype, a negative stereotype. But I'll tell you this: if you are overweight but you are still clean, you're still neat, right? We all, because it can be a lot of reasons. It can be your pancreas problem. You got some hormonal imbalance, right? Essentially, I don't know why you're overweight, but if you show up neat, when you put on your collared shirt, your shirt staying tucked in and everything else like that, I think really a lot of people overlook it because, everybody has their challenges in life, right? I know that they try to put certain people in front of the client sometimes, and you might get overlooked. But if you are really on top of your game, and really it's about the confidence, right? You can be overweight, but have your confidence. Let your personality shine. Take advantage of opportunities when they're in front of you. I really would find it hard for that being a challenge, because I've seen a lot of overweight people in some of the positions that I'm in. So, I don't think it's a deal breaker if you're just overweight.
Yeah, I think that's a fair answer, ERTWYN. And I would say this too, right? There's a lot of people that are overweight in corporate America, and they are in, top positions, right? As an African American, as you continue to move up, I personally, not in the company that I work for, you see very many, at the end of the day, you don't see very many African Americans in top leadership positions in the company that I work for anyway. But Yeah, I would think that, as ERTWYN said, if you're confident, you clean up very well. Really, that's going to be the indicator if you can move up or not, right? It's about that presence that you have and how the confidence, and not only that, this ability for you to do your job, right? I think that's the most important thing. So let's jump over to one other question. Mr. Rose says, what trends help you recognize the shift in technology that inevitably led you to believe that web-based was going to replace out-of-the-box solutions?
So pretty much everybody wanted, so out-of-the-box solutions, somebody doesn't know. So when you're on your desktop and you have an application, right, you are installing that application. If you have a hospital that has 1,500 computers that all the nurses and everybody else is used, right, when you now have to update that application, I have to go to the machine. I have to put that technology onto the machine. I have to make sure that the machine itself is capable of running the software, right? So I started seeing a shift as in with the internet, all you need is a browser.
Yep.
Every computer has a browser on there, right?
Yep.
So what it was is that with HTML5 and all these started coming out, you started getting I don't remember ASP.NET, but it was all stateless. It became stateless. When you used to use the internet at the beginning, you would have to send something to the server. It would come back with a brand new page, and you have to reload, and it was slow. You know, if you think about AOL and those type of days. So there was no representational state and no asynchronous, program and stuff like that. It was you send a request, you get something back. So in the application I was building, we had web services that talk to different databases, right? You talk to a database, it presents something on the screen, you change something, you send it back to the database, or you send it across the internet, it goes to the other database. And essentially, I had an idea of how that worked. I just didn't know you could do that on the internet. So essentially, once I got wind of that, I was like, well, yeah, web technology is the way to go. Like, that's it. Like, this desktop stuff, that's for the birds, man.
Yep.
So I just, I put it out there and started brushing up on my web technologies, had to learn, HTML, had to learn about my JavaScript. I still, right now, prefer using, there's so many JavaScript libraries, I don't necessarily take my time to get invested in. I just use the internet to find all my solutions. But once I have a good understanding of it, I'm able to get the results that I want.
Got it. No, that's a great response there. And we have a question from Mr. Kenny. Kenny says, what is your deepest fear in the industry moving forward? What could keep you up at night? Very good question. Kenny, I didn't know you asked questions like that, my man. Love you, brother.
So we definitely make a joke around job security, right? But the one thing about software is that there's always somebody always is thinking about another solution, or it never works right. There's no perfect piece of software. That's why when you have your iOS, there's always an update. There's always something that they change, because as the users interact with it, things change. People give feedback. The components in the device gets better, right? And now I can use my camera on my phone to scan and upload a document to my Google Cloud. You know what I'm saying? So things get better. And if what keeps me up at night, or my deepest fear, is just letting the people that depend on me, my family, whether it be my job, letting them down. Not getting, that's really, I really strive to be, I talk about integrity, I talk about accountability a lot in my job. So, that's what it is.
No, that's a great response there. And it looks like Shirley is on as well. And Kenny says, I can ask who was better in video games. All right, let's jump to this. And we're going to jump to Shirley's question as well. But I wanted to get back to that initial question that I asked you, ERTWYN, is for anyone considering a career in technology, what are the three most important things they need to do before applying for a position? Like you talked about a lot of things of, having to hustle, financing your own Microsoft training, spending time away from your family, moving away from the family, basically going out and do your own thing, having to stay in the house with, somebody who's, pimping out the living room, if you want to say that. That's what Kenny says anyway. But you created opportunities for yourself and you took opportunities that was, presented to yourself as well. For anyone going into, a career in technology, what are the 3 most important things?
So for me, what I learned was knowing, being a jack of all trades will only get you so far. Focusing on one specific thing and becoming fluent or, some sort of a master in it will now give you opportunities or differentiate yourself from the other individuals around. So if you're going to, a lot of times I get asked on interviews, what do you do well? And I said, well, I write server-side code that pretty much is neat, is clean, it's dependable, it's not going to crash, it's not going to use up your resources. And, because those things are valuable, right? The last thing I want is an application that's running, and as soon as 50 users get on it, it starts slowing down, or it starts, there's a bugs or errors coming up. Second thing is, when you go in on an interview, have confidence. You got to sell yourself. If you can't sell yourself, then you're never going to be able to get the opportunity that you want. So when they always, look at those things, your body language, how you speak to her, look in the eye, you make sure that you're being, truthful. If you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know the answer to that question, but, if you gave me some time, I would definitely find out. And once I find out, I'm sure I can, succeed when I have the answer. The third thing is, it's on tip of my tongue, but the third thing, to me, I always talk about being integrity. Integrity is what you're getting when you hire me. I'm going to be honest. If I can't do something, I'm going to tell you I can't do it. I'm not going to be around. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I always go out and I say, I like the fact that what makes me succeed is me being true to who I am.
Yep.
And I'll just give you one more nugget too. When I go to my interviews, I always ask, I said, what does success at this position look like? And when they hear that, that lets me know, because if I'm at this position or I'm doing this job, I want to succeed at it. So what does success look like to you? And they might go, oh man, that's a great question. Well, is it sales oriented? Is it about, having less turnover in the department? Is it about giving the users exactly what they want? What does success look like? So once I have that, I can now have an idea about what it is that you're looking for in an employee.
No, I like those answers, ERTWYN. Focus on one thing, have confidence, know how to sell yourself, be dependent, right? Have integrity, and, ask questions regarding what does success look like, right? I think those are the questions that you need to ask in order for you to get what your goals are, what your key performance indicators are, in order for you to get the feedback that you need, in order for you to correct behaviors, and also to excel at the role that you're in, right? Great answers, Ert.
If you don't know those answers, how do I know, how to succeed? I mean, I really, I have to know that. If I don't know, then, just exactly. I'm out here floating out.
Yep. And a lot of that is just asking the right questions as well. We had a podcast last week with Miss Lauren Reeves, who talked about asking the right questions. And last night I was on a podcast with Mr. Billy Rowe talking about applying feedback. And part of applying feedback is asking the right questions, or people giving you that feedback and asking for feedback, right? That's how you correct behaviors. That's how you continue to grow within personal development. Shirley said, what specifically would you say companies are looking for now in your field? And what does that look like for a woman in your industry? Ooh, diversity.
Yeah, well, actually, so in my industry, I'm normally the token black guy. Like it's not too many, I'm normally the black guy there, or if it's, maybe it's like 2 of us, but it's, we're always the minority. I end up working with women. I mean, a lot of Indian women, they excel pretty well at it, but women programmers, they get it. I mean, they're not, like, it's a different type of woman. They're not emotional. Like they understand their ones and zeros, true and false. Like, all the other stuff that, people think, oh, well, women are emotional. Like, they come in and they really, not to say that I'm impressed, but they're on top of their stuff. If they want to break through, I think, you know, they just have to do the same thing. You get in there, you have to say, I'm just as good as my male counterpart. Here is why. Right, Lauren, I think I watched a little bit, like she got on there, but she's understanding her technology. Why is it important? You know, she's like, well, you know, she gave her a little spiel, but you know, she's out there in the tech industry and she's letting people know, like, here's what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Anton Walker, sorry about this, sir. I totally overlooked your chat. He asked the question, ERTWYN, do you ever use Mongo? I'm assuming that's a database.
That's a database. So no, I deal only in Microsoft products, SQL Server, .NET servers. You know, your browser is going to be HTML, whatever else it is, but I only use pretty much Microsoft clients. If I do integrate with anything that's not Microsoft, it's either through some sort of API or I'm sending some sort of web request back and I'm using a JavaScript object, some JSON, and I'm sending that information back, serializing it, and all my security settings, my authentication, it's all on the .NET side.
Oh, got it. Yep, hope that answers your question.
Microsoft does a lot of enterprise level solutions. So in Houston, a lot of corporations are here, a lot of headquarters are here.
Yep.
So they use enterprise level solutions to solve those problems. And your Microsofts, your Amazon, that's what they're selling, right? They got the sales guys go out there, they're selling you, here's why you should use this enterprise solution. I don't really know if Mongo is the enterprise solution, but you know, they tend to stay away from open source stuff or things that can expose them to certain threats, or if it's not hardened technology, they don't tend to use it.
Got it. No, very good answer, ERTWYN. Looks like we got JT in the chat. How you doing, JT? Hope all is well, my brother. Do me a favor, guys. If you're new to this channel and this is the first time, and Mr. Henry brought you here, do me a favor, like the video and do subscribe to it. We're working on growing the brand, growing the channel, and every subscriber certainly helps with that as well, because we're bringing you this sort of content to help you get better and to help people who are looking at a career in full stack development to enter this. And not only that, we're bringing you the exposure and how you can actually get to this position within a career. Let's talk about this, ERTWYN. What are companies looking for when they are recruiting talent for a full stack web developer?
Oh, they look for a lot of passion. Do you have passion in what you do? If you're passionate about it, it will show, right? And when you have that passion, it speaks volumes about your character. So have passion in what you do. Take pride in it. One of the other things that I think that helps me is that I used my coaching experience. I'm actually I'm on my executive board of my HOA. I'm on my executive board of my PTO. So I use a lot of these extracurricular activities to kind of sell myself. Not only can I manage what I do for you, I manage other aspects outside of my life, and I'm still able to, you know, work for you. So I use those things as leverage to kind of say, oh, well, this guy understands big picture of, you know, if I'm responsible for 500 homes, you know, oh, he understands how a budget works. Oh, he understands what an RFP is. He understands the bid process and how we, you know, clients have to come in and sell themselves. So I'm able to, you know, put myself in some of those situations. So I leverage some of those opportunities outside of work to show that I am an employee, not only that will produce quality work for you, but have a understanding of systems and interactions outside of just, you know, development. And they really enjoy that.
Well, you think about that, right? A lot of us, when we're in our career, we kind of focus on our work and think that the on-the-job training is going to be helping us develop. The most development that you do get, it's typically outside of work, because although you're spending 8 hours or plus hours a day on your work, you really focus on, or you really get the development that you need outside of it. So that's a great example for people to develop and not have the corporations, hold back to develop their employees, because a lot of corporations don't do that. And even if you're in a corporation, and let's just say you don't have the mindset to personal development outside of the corporation, you have to ask your managers to send you to the executive presence class, or ask your manager to send you to this sort of training because you're interested into this. That's how you continue to develop within your career and also in your personal life. So that is a great example, ERTWYN, to put yourself in positions outside of your work to continue to grow, managing the HOA budget, being responsible for these homes. And that's a good way to sell yourself as well, man. That was a great answer, my man. What areas do you think we as African Americans need to focus on to increase diversity within corporations? And then I'm gonna jump back over to the chat to answer some questions there.
So definitely understanding how to process and filter through. There's so much information out there, right? You got to figure out, how do I filter through this? How do I take what's relevant and take what's not relevant? And really, I use my outside opportunities to become better at that. And it really transforms. When I'm in my workplace, man, and they're like, "Oh, you're able to read some documents, and you got through those documents so quick." It's like, yeah, because I know what I'm looking for in the documents. I know what I'm looking for, actions. Or I'm looking for specific call to actions that you're doing, so I can understand what it is, processes. Can I create a flow chart out of this? But as far as to get the diversity in there, if we can focus on being experts in large systems. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've been being involved in my city council and how my city manages things a lot more, so I can understand how the system works. If you understand how the system works and how the rules are played, then you can get in the game.
Oh, right? That's the biggest thing, boy. You got to say that again. You can do what?
So if you understand the rules and how the system works, then you can get in the game and be successful at it, right? If my players that I'm coaching, if they can't understand why I am asking you to play man-to-man and pressure defense because there's a 5-second rule in basketball, I want to get the ball out of his hand in 5 seconds and pressure him a little bit. That's why I want you to pressure defense. If you can't understand that, you're not gonna get in the game, right? So if I'm at a job and I understand that one of the things that matter is customer retention, and how customers get on an application and they don't want to go back and forth. They want to click one page and get all the results there. Like, I have to understand user experience. So understand how the system works, understand what it is that your clients are asking for. If we focus on that, I don't know if that's an educational, like, I can't say, okay, take that class. I'm just saying, look at what the industry is doing. Pay attention to what the industry is doing. When you're on your blogs, like, if you're putting content out here and we're sharing this information, follow up on this, like, find out what specific information. If Ant's putting this information out, he's right now putting full stack developer. Look for other podcasts that have full stack developers on there and see what they're talking about. If you really want to get in, like, there's so much content out there right now that if you can just learn how to filter through that information and get specifically what you want, I think you'll be able to achieve what it is that you need to get into a tech industry.
That's great, ERTWYN. Let me just recap that. Become an expert in large systems. And you're preaching when you say understand the rules of the game. You have to understand the rules of the game in order for you to get in the game. And that's what I preach, about corporate America, not only just corporate America, America in general. Guys, we know there's challenges of America, but that's no excuse why people can't succeed. You know the rules, you know what's out there, you know what the things that you need to do in order for you to achieve success, right? And nobody's going to write you that guide. You have to, look at the people who have done it and work with the people who have done it so that they can give you a blueprint. And this is a blueprint right here. This is a blueprint of how you can get to a point where you can have success, right? Right.
You understand, I think you touched on one of these things in your intro video where you say your parents, they've either done blue collar work or they're not necessarily, they might not come from a corporate experience, right? So how else do I get this information, right? Yep. So now, if I'm going to be in corporate America, I got to understand how it works so that I can tell my young ones, or I can tell the young guys that I interact with, this is what you need to do when you're out there to get yourself in the opportunities that you need.
Hands down, brother. Absolutely. Absolutely. JT says he was the best video game player. I think I went to that. Mr. Anton Walker said, do you have to learn all the docs for new APIS, or do you just learn the parts that you use?
I spend time doing some discovery phase, and once I get into it, I start breaking it apart. That's the engineering side of me, right? Why did I want to be an engineer? Because I was always taking things apart. How does this work? So essentially, it's this natural curiosity inside of me, right? So once I get in there, I'm going to take it apart. What's actually going on here? So that's, you know, one of my strengths. For me to understand how this works, I got to take it apart.
Yep. You know, that's good. Story of a Black Conservative. Thank you for joining the channel, sir. And the podcast tonight. He asked a question and sum this up and really briefly, ERTWYN.
Okay.
What is a full stack developer, web developer?
It's a developer that deals with the database side, the logic, the business logic, and then the front end experience that the users interact with. You work on all three of those parts. A lot of applications, you think about your Gmail, it has a user interface. Pretty much there's rules and stuff that when you click a button, something should happen that goes to the server, and then you're able to get your files or get your deleted emails or see the emails that you have for years or years that's stored on a database. So that's what a full stack developer does. Got it.
Very good. And then there's another question by SOBC as well. Is what are your thoughts on AWS?
I think it's going to be so. In Microsoft, they're doing some .NET Core stuff that pretty much, when you deal with servers, right, web applications, there's Linux servers, there's Microsoft servers, there are Apache servers. AWS now is understanding that they're making technologies that I can build application on any server. It's not dependent. I can use .NET Core, put it on. I can build a .NET application and run it on any cloud service that's out there. And I think that it's going to take off, and that concept it's already out there. People are going to jump on it. Developers are already on it. So I think it's going to do well.
Wonderful. We got a couple questions more in the chat, but we're going to continue on with the interview. And ERTWYN, you don't have a hard stop, do you, brother? Because this is good. And we got a couple more questions. Okay, good. All right. Awesome. What are your thoughts on Black Heights and its initiative?
I really like the fact that what spoke to me is about we're out here in the corporate world and we don't see the diversity, right? We're in our company and we're like, well, what are they doing about diversity? We're like, oh, well, you know, do we just take it for granted that Black people aren't trying to have developer jobs? No, right? Because you go to HBCU, you go to Prairie View, you see all the graduates that graduated from the computer science program and stuff like that, right? And you ask yourself, well, why is only one of us, or is it only two of us in here? So when I saw your video and you spoke about the number of CEOs and just the lack thereof of diversity in some of these corporations, it really spoke to me about like, for us to give that opportunity, like I have to do my job to get in those leadership roles so I can give my counterparts an opportunity to experience the same things that I did. If I don't get in that role, then I'm selling myself short. So really, like since I saw it, like I went out and I updated my resume. I started putting it out there because I'm really going to try to, hopefully I get back on in a year or a couple months and I'm like, hey man, this is what I'm doing because I really think it's needed and that's my goal. Like it really spoke to me in my bones. Like, hey man, diversity is we take a lot of this stuff for granted, so that's it's an issue, but hopefully we can put it out there and make people aware of it because you see these things today with like the Gucci incident. You see these H&M incidents. It's like people don't quite understand what they're doing because if I did, if you had diversity, somebody would have said, hey man, that might not fly, with the people that I know, so why did they go through the channels? Is because there was no diversity there. Nobody there to stop it and say, hey, hold on, guys, this isn't right. So.
Yep. It looks like Leah had a comment in here, and I'm sorry, I was looking at the YouTube chats versus the Facebook ones. Leah said, that's so smart to leverage what you do in your life. Most wouldn't think to use that. Absolutely. Mr. Reed, Darcellus says, what % of your web developer coworkers are college graduates, and how important is college in your field? Great question.
So I tell people this all the time. What corporations are looking for is to see if you made an investment in yourself. That's what college really is, right? You have to. They're going to invest dollars in you, and they look at the fact that, well, what did you do to invest in yourself to make yourself qualified? And that's what college is, right? And I tell my other kids that I run to, I was like, when you go to college, what I didn't do in college is take advantage of the playground. I'm paying to use this playground, right? Why didn't I play more on the equipment that was at the playground? I just hung out. I really should have talked to my professors. I should have found out how do I get experience doing these things. I stayed in my bubble, and I really I share that to all people all the time. It's like, hey man, get outside, join the clubs, do all that other stuff. You're paying to play on that playground, man. Play on the equipment. Talk to people, talk to professors, man. If I want to do some stuff, do you have any side, do you have something that you're working on that I can kind of help out with, or you can introduce me to, because they're doing their graduate programs and stuff on the side. And sure, why not take the free work for the help that people are offering? So I definitely think in my field, it matters. They don't look at certifications and be like, oh yeah, you went to training, because we look at those people, not saying we look at those people, but that doesn't give you the full picture, right? You can't become a web developer by going to that training and take a cram course. It takes years of experience. Like, I hate to say it, but it's going to take some understanding of some concepts that you normally get when you go to university.
Got it. No, that's great. And you are right about the Black Ice Initiative. We have to do our part too, ERTWYN. And it starts with you and I wanting to move up, right? If we get to these positions in corporations, we can make the difference, because then we're responsible for the hiring. We're responsible for the budget. We can say, okay, well, recruiter, I want you to go to these HBCUs to do the recruiting, right? You can point them to start recruiting specific types of people in specific universities. You have more control if you're in these roles. So that's very important too. And that's what the initiative is too, is to help more get into those roles so that we can help ourselves with the diversity issue. Corporations are going to do their best by spending a lot of money. You see that it's still a challenge, but we still have to, play alongside and do our part as well too. So absolutely, man, you hit the nail on the head. There was a couple other questions in here. So JT said this, JT has something funny to say. He said, LOL, taking things apart is a nice way of saying he used to break everything. Yeah.
It was already broken. And because it's broken, it's like, well, I'm about to go take it apart. It's already broken, see if I can fix it, right? So essentially, that's kind of where it started. You break your PlayStation stuff down, I'm taking it apart, man. If I can get this thing working. So, you open your PlayStation up because it's not cooling. Who knew that if you just open it up and let some air get in there, your PlayStation will work again. So.
And he also says, Anton Walker says this, can you go deeper details using Microsoft Enterprise Solutions? No, we're not going to do this, because ERT can talk about this all day. Before you know it, this podcast it's 2 hours long. So Anton, I'll connect you with ERTWYN on LinkedIn. You can LinkedIn with him, my brother, and you can learn a little bit more. But my man ERTWYN, he's an engineer, and he can get to the real details. So we're gonna politely.
We'll get your brother right. We'll get him right.
All right. JT says, how much of what you learn in college do you apply on a day-to-day basis at work, programming wise?
Man, so much. I've learned so much since after college that it's not that much. I don't know if I got the basic concepts of college. So understanding what a database is, understanding I guess what an application is. That was basic, right? But now I get out here in the corporate world, people do it so many different ways, so many different flavors. I really don't rely on that information. Technology is always changing, so you're always learning. So I can't necessarily pull that information from college. But, learning how to write well, learning how to, I guess, prepare certain emails or etiquette, stuff like that, like those type of things. Like you can't, that those are valuable things that you learn in college, right?
And you're right. Sorry to interject, sir. You're absolutely right. Those are the professionalism etiquettes that you learn within college. But one of the most important things I tell people that college teaches you is how to work with people that aren't like you, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That's a huge piece of it too, ERTWYN. So talk about that in your experience, because I know, you went to an academy, and I think you went to a private school, so you probably had a lot of diversity. There's a lot of, a lot of us who, initially, when I was coming out of South Carolina, my school wasn't diverse. But when I went to Wisconsin, it wasn't diverse either. It was the complete opposite what I was used to. So I went to a majority African-American high school. And then when I went to Wisconsin, I went to a majority white high school, right? That exposure gave me an ability to adapt. And I think that's what college gives you the ability to do too. So talk a little bit more about that from that perspective of being able to work with other people that aren't like you.
So it gives you definitely, I tell you this, in my engineering class, I was always the youngest one in my class. And, you think about, well, who goes to college for engineering? It's like, all right, well, yeah, it's older guys that, maybe go out there working, they want to go back to college and get a degree. And so I was the youngest one. I was playing football. But when I switched to college of business, definitely it was a lot more diverse. That everything, group projects all there. Everything over there is a group project. You got to do your group thesis. You do a lot of thesis, but you do your group projects. Everybody has a role. You're supposed to really figure out who can do what, who has what strengths. Obviously, there's always a person that says they're going to do something but never does it, or always has an excuse. So you got to write. You got to take up their part. Or there's people in the group that they say they're going to do everything, and then you realize that they're not. So those experiences you're not going to get necessarily working straight out of high school at your retail job, or at the big box stores and anything like that. You're going to get those experiences at college, right? Because they're going to force you to have a team and work together and come up with a solution. So,
we're getting some.
I don't remember this, but remember when we were taking chemistry, right? And I think all of us would do it it's like you take 3 tests, and we were struggling in chemistry. And we spent all night. It was like me and you, I think, and JT, we were all studying in the library to pass that chemistry test, man. We made an A, and I brought my grade to a C. And if I didn't collaborate with y'all guys, man, I wouldn't have been able to get that C in chemistry. So, that was one of the big things. I don't know if y'all know that, but I just, those type of things, you think you can do everything yourself, but unless you get a group, and we figured out how to do it. I don't know what we did, but we could have probably been making A's in chemistry from the beginning if we just would have worked together, man. So
you're absolutely right about that, Ert. I think in that chemistry, I had an A.
Yeah.
I was teaching y'all football players, man. You guys ain't had no time. All right, let's jump back to the chat. We got a couple more questions before we before we get over there. So, Ms. Tamara Way, my sister, says there's a lack of diversity in the STEM field. Since we are focusing on technology, how do we increase the diversity in the tech industry, specifically creating more exposure for African Americans? This platform is certainly one of them.
You got to make it cool, man. At the end of the day, you got to make it cool, man. So I have a motorcycle, right? And a lot of my kids, they'll be like, Coach, what you do to drive a motorcycle? I'm like, I have a good job. I'm a programmer. What's that? So then essentially I make it cool somewhat. I'm a nerd, but I'm a cool nerd. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we got to make it cool, because essentially, our culture, hip hop and all that stuff, those are the things that speaks to us sometimes, right? Me being smart at math and everything else of that, it's not going to necessarily attract those people. So a lot of times when I coach my little kids, their parents are like, well, what do you do to get them to listen? I was like, well, you gotta be relatable. So I try to be relatable, and then I use that being relatable to say, hey, this is what I do. You ever think about joining a robotics club, or it's funny when you shoot a rocket off and it just shoots up in the air. You got to run away because the countdown is going. You do those type of things, and you make it cool. And I think if we can figure out that, I think if Kenny probably be on there, but he's doing some robotic stuff, and if it's cool, I think the kids will enjoy it, man. Like learning math and being good at understanding how circuits work, or how something, how you get power from it. Like if you make it cool, I think it'll help out in our culture to increase the diversity. And I think that definitely happens.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, ERTWYN. That's absolutely brilliant.
Sports, we know the arts, you know, with the music videos and stuff like that, but we don't know like, or we know like the service jobs, being in government and stuff like that. But do we really understand that, hey man, you can be a developer. You don't have to be, you know, a nerd.
Yeah. No, that's you're absolutely right about that. That's a good point, ERTWYN. How do we make engineering cool? Right? It's cool to other groups of people, but how do we make it cool for African Americans, right? Female and males. How do we make STEM cool? You know, science, technology, engineering, and math. How do we make that cool? And once we're able to solve that, I think we can start pointing more people into those fields, because that isn't an area where people are starting to focus. I also have another, you know, another thought behind that as well, with what HBCUs can do to help with that as well. But that's not for this discussion. Cheryl, your wife says, are there any books or tools you found helpful in your career?
Yeah, you pick up your those life-changing books. I hate to say that I don't necessarily enjoy reading. Like, you know, I think I read The Pragmatic Programmer, but I think you guys talked about books that you've read.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read Urban Meyer's book, but I if I pick it up, I don't necessarily read it all the way through. So what I've been doing myself, I've been doing audiobooks, because I don't necessarily like to sit down and read. But yeah, man, the self-learning books, you know, go online, read Audible, and listen to it, man. I think it really helps. One of the books that I enjoyed with The Art of Not Giving an F, you know, that was good. And you know, you just continue, you know, trying to do self-development stuff. That always helps out, man.
Yeah, and this is what I tell people all the time, ERTWYN. You really have to be conscious about, you know, development, and reading expands your mind. And, you know, people used to say that a long time ago when I was growing up, but I really never took it serious until later on in life. And, you know, growing up in high school, you used to have these book reports and all this other stuff that you used to have to do, and nothing really caught my curiosity. We had to do it, and you had to do it over the summer. You had to read like 3 or 4 books over the summer, and next you know, you had to write it, you know, a summary of it and turn it in. And all I would do was read the first page and the last page, and, you know, write and the cover and write what the, you know, the summary was in my own elaborate words. But I never read that well, or that much. Now I consume books as often as I can. A book that I'm reading right now is like Think Like a CEO. It's about a gentleman who has had a long career within Oracle as an executive in software sales, and the guy makes, I mean, like millions of dollars a year. And you can do that in enterprise software and sales if you're a really good salesman, right? And it's a book where it's not only teaching me how to sell enterprise software, but it's also to sell myself, to come with a point of view, and also preparing me for my role as a CEO of Black Kites as well. So it encompasses it all at this point in time, right? So it's absolutely wonderful. Jordan, thank you so much for tuning in, my brother. I am glad you joined in the chat as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. That's what I tell people, ERTWYN. Reading is very important. And not only that, you know, I choose to read hard books because that's just what I choose to do, but audiobooks is just as good. You have to be able to expand your mind. Reading helps brings that exposure that you typically don't get. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. So that's my answer to that, Cheryl, about the books that I find helpful within my career. But there's a number of them, especially if we were talking about management and stuff like that. I think the 1 Minute Manager is certainly a good one, as well as this book by Tom Hortstrom, the Becoming an Effective Manager, has helped with throughout my career as well. Anton Walker says, cruiser or sports bike, my man?
I got a sports bike. I got a Triumph Daytona 675.
Killing it.
Yeah.
And JT says, I just got Audible myself. What are some good books that either one of you recommends? I got all kinds of credits, but don't know what to download.
Let me see what I got. What I have in here really quick. So let me see.
I can tell you off the top of my head right now, JT, what I've consumed in audio, Audible, sorry, for an audio book. I read it, but I also enjoyed it so much that I did the Audible version of it, was Bill O'Reilly's Killing Kennedy, and also the killing of Abraham Lincoln. Two presidents that, I'm not a historian at all, and never really paid attention to history, but those were two fascinating presidents that I've enjoyed reading about, and just opened my mind up to people who try to change the world in a dramatic fashion typically have a target on their back, and it doesn't really matter about race or ethnicity. So that's what it exposed me to, and it was a fantastic book, my man. What about you, Ert?
So I have Above the Line, A Lesson in Leadership, Urban Meyer book. That one really spoke to me because it talked about football, and he's going to say how he won his championships, but he talks about how he put the staff and how he delivered this message down to his staff, and his staff were the ones that got the players in line. If he wasn't able to get his staff in place and talk about BCD and these behaviors and stuff like that, like it wouldn't have happened, or he wouldn't have had his 2 championships. Obviously, we know talent takes a role, but essentially, some sort of leadership happens, right? Accountability and those type of things need to be passed on a message that the players can receive it and understand it, right? Another book that I like is The Way of the Superior Man. It just talks about like how to look at yourself and appreciate, what God created you to do, man. Like that was one of the things that I like. So
awesome. Mr. Darcellus Reed said Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. It's a good one as well. Right. We're getting a lot of people with a lot of questions in the chat, and we're getting ready to wrap up the podcast right now. So I'd like to ask, 2 more questions to you, Erwin. Go ahead, sir. Okay. You got some.
No, let's try to if we can get this, I'll make it short. If we can just go ahead and just, let's see if we can pick a few that, speak to you and try to get their answers, man.
Sure thing. Well, but I'll do one of my questions because I think this is important, especially for the professionals out there. How do you balance work, life, and family? You got a wife, you got a full-time job, you do coaching, you have 3 kids, 3 beautiful kids. How do you balance that, Ert?
So, like every time I show up at the rec center, the lady's like, "Do you sleep? Do you live here?" Really, I enjoy it. Like I enjoy coming home from work, changing out of my clothes, going straight to the gym, going straight to the field. How do I manage it? Shirley and I do a really good job of delegating our tasks. Like we split homework nights. We'll split cooking nights and stuff like that. So we're a single income household. So a lot of times, where she's at home with the kids, because essentially it's tough having your kids and the system is not set up. If you don't have family in place or you don't have support systems in place, it's hard to succeed at it, so essentially we make the sacrifice to live off of one income and do it that way. And she is fantastic of holding down and making sure the kids are disciplined. We actually just went on vacation, right? And everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, your kids are so well behaved." We got like 3 alcohol from the stewardess, everywhere. They were like, "You got the Parents of the Year award," and it's not. I know I'm at work, but I know I'm able to have that opportunity because she is doing a great job at what she does. And she really knows that I enjoy it. Like that's my stress relief. So she just doesn't rob me of that, right? She's like, okay, he likes it. He likes what he does. I'm gonna let him have his thing. So I just want to tell her thank you if she doesn't know. So
thanks, think she knows, Ertwyn. No, I think that's wonderful. Delegating, having a system in place that works for both, but also, having a partner and a spouse that just believes in you. I think that's what makes it a lot easier. And we have a single parent income house as well, and I think it's one of the best things, seeing my wife teach our kids. And I tell her every single day that I fell in love with her even more since we've had kids because of her ability to, hold that down. That's a full-time job that, to be quite honest with you, I don't want, and I know I can't do. So it's a challenge, and certainly having a partner and a spouse that believes in what we're doing really does help.
And if you by yourself too, man, like I said, it's prioritizing, man. You know you got to get up in the morning, man. You want to do these things, get your stuff together, and figure out your game plan, your practice plan. It's really just about time management. To be honest with you, by yourself, time management makes a big difference. Awesome,
my man. They've got a couple more questions in here, and then we're going to get the last one, and then we're going to wrap it up. Mr. Kinney says, was testing ever difficult in college? Have you ever had a situation arise during test?
I love you, Kitty, man. Testing was difficult, man. And like I said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, man. No, man. So like, we you really, a lot of pressure is put on people to succeed. And sometimes, those things, that pressure gets to you, right? So, like I said, the problem really was at that time, I wasn't putting the work in. I wasn't putting the work in. So now that I'm older and now that I'm a little more mature, I understand if I'm going to do something to succeed, I got to prepare. If I'm not preparing, if I'm not informing myself, the chances of me succeeding are going to drop drastically.
Be prepared. Be prepared.
Yep.
And JT says, since we're all here, where are we going, man? Where are we going together? We got to plan a trip. Let's take that offline. We're not going to brainstorm on this podcast right now, but that definitely needs to be something in store, like our skiing trip. Let's hopefully ERTWYN doesn't kill himself. Last question, my man. And thank you so much for spending so much time with us tonight. For anyone watching this video, what are 3 takeaways that you want to share about our conversation tonight? Somebody comes across a video, wants to get into the field of engineering, becoming a full stack web developer. What is it that you want them to take away from this video?
So I'm just telling you, be fearless, right? Essentially, this is not, I don't do this whole webcast and putting things out there. Like that's not who I am. But in seeing what you did, man, and taking initiative with Black Heights, being fearless is something that I'm taking away. Be fearless, man. Take those opportunities. Go off the uncharted route. If you don't do it, then you'll never get the experiences that will teach you to, hey, when the snowmobile says follow them. Don't, you got to have those experiences, man. But also to, find the content, man. You're putting content out here. I think the last 4 podcasts that you've done, man, you've had some really sharp individuals out there. And people have information to share. Talk with the people that at your church, at your school. Put yourself out there. Share, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Maybe you'll run across some people that are also trying to do it, so you can collaborate, right? Me and Kenny moved out to Houston, man. Kenny called me and I said, man, why not, Kenny? Move out to Houston. Like, whatever you need to do, I got you. So if he didn't call me and say, hey, why should I'm like, this is what's my situation. Like, I was like, look, man, you move out here, I got you. I showed him, if you don't do that and collaborate with people that like, things won't happen. So be fearless, collaborate with people that The third thing is that I really am big on having this whole confidence. I really realized that confidence makes a big difference. So me getting on here tonight is me getting reestablished in my confidence and being confident in what I'm doing, right? I know I'm doing that the right way, but why not? Like, why not be on Ant's podcast? Why not, let everybody know, like, hey, this is what I go through at work every day. This is what is happening. This is how I got here. Like, be confident in your story. Be confident in who you are. And I think that'll definitely work out.
No, those are wonderful takeaways, brother. Be fearless. I like that you said this, ERTWYN. Take the opportunity. That's what you need to do, is take the opportunity. Share knowledge and collaborate with others. And I'll also say, expand your network. That was something that you talked about within, college experience, and something that a lot of the times we don't take advantage of. There are so many organizations that are out there. We find ourselves wanting to be solo and have some of this our own time. In order for you to get ahead, you have to take steps to get ahead. And getting ahead is not doing what everybody else is doing. It's doing what people aren't doing is what you need to do to take steps to get ahead, right? And not only that, the last thing you said was just have confidence. And that is with growth, you're going to have confidence, but also being uncomfortable, you're going to build confidence. And if, for the people who get used to being uncomfortable, that's going to help them build that confidence that they need to be able to sell themselves. You did a wonderful job with those 3 key takeaways, and I really do appreciate you joining the show. Guys, thank you so much for joining on to the podcast tonight. Really putting questions out there, having a good time. We had a lot of our FAU brothers in here and the wife and stuff like that in the family, and really appreciate that you guys are supporting the channel. If you know any good brothers and sisters that are doing some wonderful things out there, please send them our way. We would like for them to tell their journey as well, because this is what we're doing. We're exposing people to what is possible in a management role and a leadership role, but also working for somebody else or working for themselves. So,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely, man.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. If you haven't done so already, I see some people already in here who aren't subscribed to the Black I.T channel. That means you, JT. That means you, Kenny. Go to the video and hit the subscribe button.
Right, man. Hit the like button too, man.
Hit the like button as well.
We gotta get the followers up, man.
Yes, we have to do that. And also, I write weekly content on the Black I.T channel. Jump in to the website, go to the newsletter, and subscribe to that as well. That's helping us build our subscriber base too. So guys, thank you all so much for the support. We're continuing to get it. We got the corporations looking at us. We got a sponsor already, and we're continuing to grow on a weekly basis. So thank you all for your support. ERTWYN, wonderful job. Thank you for coming on and telling your story, my brother.
And I'll tell you this, man. Feel free to pass my information to anybody else that's out there. Like my email is ertwyn@gmail.com. Feel free to email me those questions that we didn't get to answer. You can ask. I don't mind taking time out to talk. And thanks, Ant. I really appreciate everything, man.
Absolutely. And connect with ERTWYN on LinkedIn as well. His network is our network. All right. Thank you guys for your time tonight. Bye-bye.
All right, man.